Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, today is 4/20, and you may or may not know that it's sort of celebrated as a 4th of July for stoners. But what about those that want to celebrate marijuana for its medicinal qualities? Specifically, a lot of parents out there that want to be able to provide an alternative for their children, an alternative therapy for things like Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, seizures. The list goes on and on. We have a lot of parents speaking out, calling on their lawmakers to keep medicinal marijuana bills alive and get it to the point where we can go ahead and get some of these passed in some more states. Now, there's an article up today. The state seizes an 11-year-old and then arrests his mother after he was defending medical marijuana during a school presentation. And this whole ordeal started when counselors at the school were conducting a drug education class. And the young boy, who had previously lived in Colorado for a period of time, he was disagreeing with some of these anti-pot points that were being made by school officials. And he said, "My mom says different things, like she calls it cannabis and not marijuana." And he let them know how educated he was on the facts. And of course, this frightened the teachers, who immediately then called officials. They went on to raid the home of the woman who is a cannabis oil activist. They raided her home based on things that the boy was saying in school. And they had the boy locked up. Neither of his parents were alerted about the fact that police officials were questioning her 11-year-old, which is against the law. So obviously going out of their way to really push back against medicinal marijuana. It's just the most frightening thing that's out there, and it's a plant. So joining me today is filmmaker Kevin Booth. He's the award-winning documentary filmmaker of American Drug War 1 and 2, as well as How Weed Won the West. You can find those films and more at InfoWarsStore.com. So Kevin Booth, thank you for taking the time out of your celebrations here today on 4/20 to join us.
No problem. It was easy to do. I appreciate you guys calling me at the last second like that. It's great.
Hey, well, you're the man for a day like today. So what do you think about some of these stories that are coming out? Last week, we have a story of a state seizing an 11-year-old because he was at school and they were giving him sort of a drug education class. And he said, well, wait a minute, that's not what my mom calls marijuana. She calls it cannabis. And she helped cure my Crohn's disease with this. And of course, immediately the school took him in back with the principal, and the cops went and raided the woman's home. What do you think about that?
I know. I was just watching that just now, and I love it because, you know, my wife and I went through the whole foster thing, and I love the way the woman is on the doorstep and she's like, "I'm from DCF. Here's a pamphlet." That's exactly, I mean, that's like DCF to the T. Like, here's a pamphlet. Like, here's a pamphlet about what your government is screwing you. This is to explain to you how we're screwing you. Here's a pamphlet.
Right.
Yeah, and the fact that she just had the oil in there, the Rick Simpson oil, kind of proves that she's not really like a pot smoker or a dealer or anything like that. There's only one reason. I don't know anybody who uses the Rick Simpson oil recreationally or as a party drug. I've never even tried. I've tried a little tiny bit of it, and it's really not even all that fun for me. I mean, there's probably people out there going to disagree with that. So she's obviously doing this medicinally, but it's just so classic. I don't know. I've been to Kansas, so I get it. I've been to Colorado and I've been to Kansas, so I can totally see that happening. Like the kid just came from Colorado, where everybody's free to do what they want. And oh, by the way, the local economy is thriving. And oh, although by the way, everybody is like healthy and beautiful and gorgeous looking.
Crime's gone down.
My only question is why did she move from Colorado to Kansas? That's the only part of the whole story I don't understand. Everything else, the police being total jerks in Kansas, I get. Everybody being corrupt jerks.
Yeah.
I get the rest of the story. Why did she go to Kansas? Maybe it was a family reason. It's horrible. I hope things work out for her. But the idea that, the government is going to take away my children to save me and then put me in a house with meth smoking pedophiles.
Right. And obviously you point that out in one of your films about how, you know, you can have your state-sponsored drugs given to these kids who are taken into foster care and things like that. The state will pump them full of pharmaceutical drugs. But if a parent wants to provide an alternative, a natural alternative for their child. Here she was helping treat Crohn's disease. We just had a whole bunch of Austin moms here last Thursday calling on lawmakers to provide medical marijuana bills, keep them alive, because they want to be able to treat autism. And they're hearing a lot about some success stories with parents treating autism. So this is a natural alternative. And like you said, a lot of times with the oil and things like that, it's not giving kids a high. A lot of times it's like a lotion you can just rub on the skin and things like that. So why this issue to stop something that's natural? I mean, most parents, they just want to be able to care for their children and give them whatever options are out there. Why not the marijuana? And why do you want to push drugs that are, SSRIs, mass murder pills, basically? I'd rather have my kid go into class with someone with cannabis oil than, on an SSRI.
Oh yeah, and I just flew Lufthansa last week, and they're talking. They're like, while there's guys like searching my shoes, I was going, have you checked? Can we search the pilot for Prozac? Seriously, because I'm not even scared of terrorists anymore. Now that we have pilots, depressed pilots crashing planes, I mean, game over, right? What else are you going to do? But to answer your question, it's the same old thing. It's because there's more money and guys like Chris Christie keeping it illegal. Why? Because if they took marijuana out of the category, how's he going to arrest everybody? How is he going to keep his little police departments and all his little cronies that probably are backing him in business? So he has to take that position. But it's sad for him that he'll never win by taking that position, because I would guess that probably at least 60% of all Americans believe it should be legalized now. So game over for Chris Christie.
Yeah, and especially where it's appropriate medicinally. So what do you think about, we have a lot of the candidates now speaking out on where they stand on legalization or decriminalization. Rand Paul just recently called out Jeb Bush because he said, if you got MS in Florida, Jeb Bush voted to put you in jail if you go to the local drugstore and try to get some of this medicinal marijuana. Yet he was doing it, Jeb Bush was doing it recreationally, and that was completely okay. For him, it's okay, but if you want to treat your child with Crohn's disease, or if you have multiple sclerosis and marijuana is the only thing that works for you, you're going to jail. So it's a total double standard.
It's time for this country to grow up and just let go of all this ridiculousness. And the idea too, going back to that other story about the woman's son getting taken away, that somehow, because, it's like this idea that Chris Christie was saying that, I don't want children to do it. Well, of course we don't want children to do it. There's plenty of legal things out there. Gambling is legal. Does that mean I want my little child to gamble? No. It's ridiculous. It's medicine. It's medicine. If you want to take a bunch of it and get really wasted, you can. But once again, and I know this is obvious, and it's just the most obvious thing, but looking at Chris Christie, this big, fat, bloated, most unhealthy, why is it always like the really unhealthy people that are giving you the bad advice? Like every time, if I go to a doctor and I'm like, well, what about marijuana, or what about juicing, or what about any of that? It's always going to be like the super fat, pasty looking, like horribly unhealthy looking person that's going to be telling you, like, there's no evidence that juicing is good for you. And, just stay away from the marijuana, and here, take these pills. And
exactly.
it's just, it never fails. It never fails. And then go to Colorado. All you got to do is go to the Colorado airport, and every single person has like a perfect tan and white teeth, and they're all like perfectly fit and eating granola with their happy children, and forget about it. It's like a little utopia, a little sunny utopia. There is no argument other than money. There's no other reason. It's just all about money. And so, but I think most people are waking up. I think most people are realizing that, and it's just, let them go through this again. Let them go through it one more time. Let them, if they want to go through another election by thinking that somehow you bringing up some old ideals from the 50s or something is going to help them win, let them waste their money and time. Who cares?
Yeah, absolutely, because it hasn't always been illegal. In fact, it's been used for thousands of years medicinally, and there's been all sorts of praise for it. And it seems like in public, the government is saying that it's not a medicine, but privately they're working on figuring out how they can patent, seeking the rights to that medicine. CNN took us on a tour of the only federal weed farm in America. So it's Ole Miss, students at Ole Miss are actually, they're studying this big crop of marijuana for its medicinal quality. So behind the scenes, they're figuring out what they can do with it. But, you know, for the rest of us, we're just all a bunch of hoodlums that just want to get high.
I mean, here, look, I brought a little plant. I mean, anybody can put a little seed in the ground. It's just a little plant. And I refuse to believe that a plant that grows naturally is evil. In fact, I'll take it one step further and say, if you're putting people in cages for doing something or using something or growing something that was here naturally before we were, then you're a devil worshiper.
You are an extremist there with that plant.
Sorry.
That is a plant.
It's
straight from the earth.
Isn't this supposed to be like the harvest? It's kind of like it's like the St. Patrick's Day for potheads, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like our 4th of July for stoners.
We're all supposed to be out in the fields planting today. Yeah, we're supposed to be planting today. I think it's a spring,
it's
some sort
Earth
of a spring
Day.
ritual. Yes,
it's Earth Day.
I know. So these are little baby clones, and this is how you get it started. Little
That's how you
clones.
celebrate Earth Day. Is you're supposed to plant a tree, and they didn't specify what kind of seeds you're supposed to plant. Now, what do you think moving forward? What do you think are going to be some opportunities for people out there? I mean, we were just speaking earlier about if Monsanto or companies like this are able to somehow patent seeds. Well, an alternative to that would be able to provide non-genetically modified seeds and things like that. But what are some other opportunities out there kind of moving forward with this? Because I think eventually it's all going to be decriminalized and overturned once more people just realize it's just a plant.
Well, we were talking about the other guest we were going to try to get on today, and he was too busy, but we'll get him on next time. He goes by the name Big Mike Stramatis, and he's actually the head of a huge company called Advanced Nutrients, which is a company that makes all the grow solutions like voodoo juice for roots, et cetera. And they're actually kind of going neck and neck with Monsanto. So he'd be a really good guest to talk about that. But, you know, it's a weird thing. I mean, it'll be interesting to see when Monsanto, of course, they're going to make some genetically modified pot. But the difference between pot and everything else is that everybody can do it. So I think marijuana is like this other thing. It's different than tobacco. It's different than some of these other things. And the more that Big Brother tries to step on it, the stronger it gets. And I think, I really, maybe I'm hopeful. Maybe I was stupid. Maybe we're going to get, maybe Monsanto is going to come in and introduce something into the strains that's going to destroy all the pot and make it so we can't grow it. But I just have a hard time believing that it's going to work this time for Monsanto.
Yeah, I think, what is there, like 27 states now that are for the decriminalization at least, or if not allowing people to grow marijuana for personal use. I mean, obviously we're not talking about huge grow operations here, but it's definitely, the tides are turning here in this debate. But what do you think is going to happen if it is decriminalized? And we're already seeing Obama, he has shortened the sentences of people who were charged with these, astronomical mandatory minimums just for maybe carrying a joint or something like that. What do you think are going to be some of the repercussions going forward, the big changes in the drug war?
I don't know. I mean, when you go to Colorado, they've jumped to like a further extreme. Obviously, I think probably the next step is going to be all these synthetic drugs. When it gets to the point where there's people in laboratories now making synthetic cannabinoids, what would you rather, seriously, you're going to push this thing so far to where the children are going to be doing cannabinoids made in a laboratory other than like a plant? Seriously.
Right. Well,
mom and dad out there, this, I know you don't want your kids to be stoned, but if you have to make a choice, you want it to be natural, just like anything else in this world. Natural is always better. Right.
And well, that was actually the big thing that happened last year. They were reporting about all of these deaths from kids getting their hands on spice, which was a totally legal
that's one of
alternative,
them. Yeah.
Which it was really obvious that once a reporter kind of took it a step further and said, who created this synthetic marijuana? And then it turned out it was actually a pharmaceutical company that was able to extract that, part of the marijuana and put it into the spice, and they were able to patent it It's a pharmaceutical company that was able to create this spice, this synthetic cannabinoid.
Right. Well, what's happening there? I actually just watched a Vice episode about it last night. Was that there's a guy in New Zealand. It was like this brilliant synthetic drug guy, and he's creating all these drugs, including synthetic cannabinoids, other versions of MDMA, which is ecstasy, and like safer alternatives to crystal meth, and all these things. He's creating this laboratory, and his brand is like supposedly safe, and there hasn't been any deaths from it. But what's happening, then all these big Chinese companies and all these other companies are coming reproducing his brand, and that's what's flooding the market with knockoffs of what he does, and that's what's killing everybody. So it's look, people are always going to do what you don't allow them to do. You can never legislate morality. It doesn't work, never has worked. It's never going to work. And so, you know, I don't know. All I can say is that if everybody just grew a little bit of pot in their own yards, they could use it, not use it, whatever, but it's going to break the whole black market. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of Chris Christie and others saying it's a gateway drug. Oh, my goodness. But so is that what you want to tell everyone celebrating 420 today? What do you want to tell everyone out there? You know, Obama says Congress isn't going to change the law on a national basis anytime soon. Should we be telling those people enjoying this holiday to go out and vote, at least on the local level? Like, what do we want people to do to start taking action?
Just get involved. You know, I mean, I hate to tell people to break the law, but if everybody went out and just planted some marijuana, like imagine if just millions of people all at once planted marijuana all over the country and just kept planting it and planting it and planting it. That would be pretty cool. You know, and I know it's going to be, it sucks that it's such a hard struggle in Texas because Austin, you know, come on, Austin needs weed. Come on. Like I get Fort Worth and some of these other places, but come on, Austin needs weed. Come on, people. If you want Austin to be the utopia that everybody's bragging about around the world. But, you know, get involved,
You're so close.
Join your activist groups, and don't be afraid of the government. Don't be afraid to be right. You know what I mean? Because I think just don't be afraid to be right. Be like Alex, fight for your rights. And growing marijuana and doing this, it's not about getting high, although that's one of the fun side effects, but it's just another exercise of our freedoms. And like the government should not be allowed to tell us that we can't grow something that just grows naturally. It's insane, and it's just another thing that needs to stop.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to be a politician on the losing side of the battle telling parents that they have to watch their children die rather than providing them with an alternative natural product that can actually help their children improve their lives tremendously. Seizures, autism, Crohn's disease, it goes on and on. So definitely wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that debate here in 2016 and beyond. Well, Kevin, any last words?
You know, it's just amazing how far people will go to save some little profit margin, but people look, anybody out there, unless you're profiting from the police kicking down doors, okay? If you profit when the police kick down the door, then go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. But if you don't profit from the police kicking down doors and locking people in cages, then please join the right side of the team. You know it's right, and you know that history is on our side.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show tonight. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and become a subscriber to the Alex Jones channel. And then you can also become a subscriber to prisonplanet.tv. You help support this operation with your subscription and everything that you purchase at the Infowars store. So we thank you. We'll see you here again tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. wild-crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfowarsLife.com. That's InfowarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfowarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.